Good evening, everybody. I'm John. Some of you may already know who I am. I There's been a lot of negativity in the news lately, and a lot of negativity overall. And obviously, there are pretty terrible things going on in the world right now. Let's be honest. And I know from personal experience that can get exhausting. And one thing I've been seeing on my Facebook feed has been a lot of memes designed to promote positivity. So things like, tell me something good about yourself, or tell me something that gives you joy, or that you find just pure, however you define pure. Um, and I wanted to take a leaf out of a game designer that I am a fan of's book. Uh, some of you who know me from gaming know that I am a fan of many of the works of John Wick. I am not going to sit here and pretend that he doesn't have some issues, but I enjoy a lot of his works. I've enjoyed L5R. I'm currently enjoying 7th Sea. I'm waiting for Katai to come out. And there's a lot of things I've learned from him as a game designer and a game master that have informed my own strategies when it comes to playing and running games. And one thing that he does is something he calls an unreview. It is a review of an item, but he follows three rules. And I'm going to follow two of them. I'm going to have a little trouble with the third since this is very spontaneous. So, an unreview, as he puts it, is it has three things. First, it has to be a product that he has bought, or in this case, a product that I've actually downloaded on my phone. I didn't have to pay for it, though I have already spent more money than I feel comfortable admitting on it. But it can't just be something you've passed by or you've consumed through osmosis, or you jumped in on a table someone else was running. It has to be something you have invested in. So a movie, you've bought the ticket, or you've gotten the ticket and gone to see it if you have some sort of voucher or something. It can't just be, oh, your friends are watching the movie. I'm just going to sit here and watch it, but I've never actually invested in it at all. Second, has to be something that you enjoy. Unreviews, my understanding is that they should, they don't have to be completely without their flaws, but they shouldn't be things that are you just like. And let's put it simple. Let's not mince words here. The part I might have some trouble with is that he uses what's called E prime. Let me see if I got that right. So E prime, he does his best to avoid the use of any version of the words to be. Since this is super spontaneous, that rule is probably going to get broken. But I'm going to do my best. It is say you have to do your best. There are times you cannot avoid the word is, as I had to explain to a few English teachers. Anyways, so today, the product I am going to be unreviewing is a game. I've told you some of you about this if you're watching this on Facebook. It's a game on my phone called Alchemist Code. It is a Japanese gacha style game. Not gacha as in I gotcha, but gacha, Gatcha, is the usual romanization, I think. And it's the term comes, as far as I can tell, from the sort of loot box style summoning mechanics that are in the game. One of the more popular ones that I know a lot of people have at least been exposed to is Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. And so, you can summon the units in that game, but it's random. You do not know what you're going to get. Sometimes they might have special events that raise the rates on certain units, but you don't know what you're going to get when you pull the lever on the slot machine, basically. But it's also a strategy game. It's a sort of strategy RPG. If you're a fan of Disgaea or Final Fantasy Tactics, it's sort of like that on a much smaller scale. Your side usually has 4 to 5 people plus any NPCs that are in the battle versus a similar number or slightly higher number of opponent units. So it involves moving your units around a grid. They have attack ranges. They have different special abilities. They have job classes. And there's a cool job system. I'll get into that in a minute. I discovered this game sort of by random a little over a month ago. I played the Hogwarts Mystery Game, which hasn't been intentionally opened on my phone in about 2 weeks. I'm kind of fed up with it. Hence why I'm not unreviewing that game. And I just found I was looking for other games to put on my phone, and somehow it came up as recommended, and I thought, what the hell? I am a fan of alchemy and fantasy games, regardless of the forms it takes. I figured it would be worth a shot, and I predicted correctly. So the game has a couple different modes. First off, trying to think. Story mode comes first. In story mode, there's currently 2 stories in the full story mode in the US. There may be more in Japan. With story mode, you have the 2 stories currently are Chapter 1 and Chapter 1? Yeah. Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Chapter 1 is the longer of the 2, or Chapter 1 is the longer of them. It follows the tale of 2 brothers in the country of Invelia, currently at war with rebels from the trampled country of Retharis that are making and those rebels currently rebel. They seem to have acquired their own version of alchemy, which in this game sort of is the just general shoehorn for all magic. I think that's the one thing in the game that's sort of unclear to me. I'm not sure if all magic is through the use of alchemical energy, or if alchemy is only supposed to refer to the summoning of spirits, aka phantoms, to fight on your behalf. But basically this country, this Retharis country, refused to use alchemy in the past, got beaten by Invelia, and now are trying to use it to revenge themselves against Retharis. So it follows these 2 brothers who end up going down 2 different paths, one light, one darkness. Alchemist code takes heavily from anime, if you haven't picked up on that. Be prepared for many, many tropes. But they go down these different paths, and the story alternates at different points between the 2 of them, as they each discover their own ideals and have to come to terms with the fact that they are walking different paths now. The second story is in another country called Slothburg. Yes, there is an intentional naming theme, if you didn't notice that. This story follows Edgar, a gunner and biker, as he is trying to locate his country's sacred stone. Every one of the different countries has their own, what they call sacred stone, which is a source of tremendous power, and he is trying to find it to fix the corruption in his country. I have not finished that story yet. I don't know how it goes, and I don't want to spoil either of the main stories just in case you end up playing and find them enjoyable. But in addition to story mode, you can also play the events. And there are a ton of different events. There are, of course, your typical daily training events and get item events. But you also have story events as well. The side stories that have their own tale to tell. Some of those are permanent, or at least permanent as far as I can tell in the last month. A couple of them also, so they're designed to help you train your characters to an extent, and fulfill certain objectives in the game. And there's also temporary ones. Currently, there are 3 actual temporary events running. The first event crosses the game over with Final Fantasy 15, which I'll get to in a minute as well. The other 2 events, one reruns an event that was run at some point in the past, and the other runs a completely new event, both of which allow you to acquire a new character and level that character up to a certain point. And there's also a battle mode. There is multiplayer, which allows you to connect with a team of players and fight, face off against the special missions, working together. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to play. You need to play a little of all of them, at least at first, to get to a certain point, and the game rewards you with missions for repeating some of those. So for example, there are daily missions for doing a regular quest, doing an event quest, doing a hard quest, doing an arena battle, and summoning stuff. So a lot of times the player benefits by following the structure of those missions and get special rewards. Here's what separates this game from Dokkan Battle and a couple of other of these sort of gacha games that I've seen or played before. All these games are freemium. They're free to buy, but if you want to get all the cool things, you need to devote money to it. This leads to, the dominant players being so-called whales, after the casino term for someone rich who throws a lot of money around. There's the whale, go catch it. So those whale players obviously can get everything and get everything quickly. Most of you know I don't have the money to be a whale currently. So I do not get that advantage. I've spent probably $20 on the game so far, which, again, probably more than I ever intended to spend on it, but nowhere near what other players have or can spend on it. Among the packages of items you can buy, the game offers packages that run up to $99 even. It's sometimes ridiculous. I really want to know who has that kind of money to throw around. But, again, Unreview means I like the product. What I like about it is that the game gives a lot of ways to get cool things even if you're not a whale. All the games seem to include regular infusions of the in-game currency. In this case, gems, and the premium currency is called the gem. There's also the zenny, which is the in-game spendable currency, which is not the premium one. But the gems are your dragon stones or shards or whatever you have that allow you to do the really cool summons. So, like most games, it gives you a trickling of gems, regardless of regardless of how much money you spent. Through doing missions, through doing different things, you just get some gems. But the other thing is that the game offers the opportunity to acquire powerful units without spending gems in a way that I don't see as much in Dokkan Battle. Dokkan Battle has free units, but in my opinion, many of the free units are inferior to their premium unit counterparts. An SSR that you get for free is usually not as powerful as the SSRs you can summon. There are exceptions to this rule, of course, but especially earlier on, when I first started playing Dokkan Battle, there was a definite power gap there. In this game, you can acquire... The game, first of all, gives you 5 single summons a day. Usually these are small things or weaker characters, but you do get 5 free summons throughout the course of the day. Every 72 hours, the game also gives you 1 free rare summon, so a unit that is 3 stars out of 5 or above. Or if you already have the unit you end up summoning, it gives you the shards to help level that unit up further. So you get a good bit of free stuff in addition to what you can get by fulfilling the missions. The different story modes also provide free characters. The 2 brothers, Logi and Dias, as well as Edgar in Chapter 2, are required to be in the levels that focus on their story. Even after you've beaten them, they still must be a member of your party. So the game, as you advance, provides you with the equipment, or provides you with what you need to make them more powerful and to evolve them, level them up, get them to be among the most powerful units you have. So you're automatically getting, potentially, just by doing story mode all the way through, 3 high-powered units, in addition to occasionally getting other rare summons. In addition, as I mentioned, there are the events. Many of the events offer you the opportunity to summon up a weaker unit and then give you the resources to, once again, level that unit up to a higher level. Quick breakdown of the level system, because it's kind of a multi-tier thing. Leveling up takes experience, but there is a level cap, either defined by the star level of the unit or defined by your player level. Regardless of how high the unit can grow, your player level always sets the maximum cap on unit size. The second in addition, you can evolve a unit. We see this in several other gacha games. Dragon Ball Z has the Z Awakening and Dokkan Awakening. The difference with this system, and awakening the unit causes it to gain a star, which increases their level cap. The difference is that all units can potentially be awakened all the way up to 5 stars, at least as far as I can tell. I honestly, to date, none of my 1-star units have been evolved once. Therefore, I do not know if there's actually a cap on how many times a unit can evolve. However, I know that there are 2- and 3-star units that the game has allowed to evolve to 5-star units. So you can take a lower level character and ramp them up with items you can acquire through through general events usually. With a few rare exceptions, some characters require unique items from their events. So even if you do not possess a large number of 5-star units, your team can still become stronger over time, regardless of how lucky or unlucky your pulls are. The third trick to leveling up a unit is what's called limit break. I know I said this was going to be quick. It's a complicated game. Trust me, this is the quick version. Through acquiring other iterations of the unit, or through using generic shards for that unit's element, you can limit break a character. Limit breaks come in a number of stars of their own. Each star has 5 times you can break. First star costs 5 shards per point, second costs 10, third costs 15, so on up to 5. So it costs, I think I did the math, it was like 450 total shards, either of that unit or of the appropriate element, to fully limit break a unit. I've done that to 1 character so far. And when you do a limit break, it raises the unit cap by 1. And after you've hit the 5th limit break and the 15th limit break, So the first limit break star and the third limit break, star, you unlock a job for that, extra jobs for that character, which is the fourth way you can level the character up. After you've unlocked the job, you can level up the job by assigning specific equipment, which then gets consumed and unlocks additional job abilities, which you can then further invest in. There's a lot of investing in this game. But the game, again, it gives you the resources to do that investing. Sometimes it can be a little more strenuous or take a little more effort to get those resources, but you have the ability to get most of them. And honestly, sometimes having those lower level units makes them easier to evolve, because if you've got a 3-star character, you are more likely to summon that 3-star character and thus get the soul shards you need to limit break them to achieve the maximum level. Whereas a 5-star character, you may never see any shards for that character ever again, because you got your one break at them. And with the event characters, they usually give you the resources to break that character up to almost level cap. Usually they stop you around 80, where the final level cap is 85, unless you're really willing to grind in those levels. But that still means you can get really powerful units for free, which is something that, again, I don't see in a lot of other gacha games. Sometimes they'll give you free units here and there, but this is the one game where a weaker unit is not necessarily a setback. Every unit has a cap, or can break their caps. And sometimes it can even be easier to break the cap with a unit that starts out weaker. Which also means that if you have a character you really like and they happen to be weaker, you're not stuck. The player can choose to invest in them and get them to a higher level. I mentioned the Final Fantasy 15 crossover that started, I want to say, a week or two after I started playing the game. Full disclosure, I have not played Final Fantasy 15 yet. God knows if I'm ever going to get a chance to. I don't have enough time to play video games right now, except for these phone games. Hence why I started looking into them. But with the Final Fantasy 15 crossover, it had a rare summon option, which allowed you to ultimately acquire 4 units from the Final Fantasy 15 games. Noctis, Ignis, Gladiolus is the only one I haven't gotten yet, and Urania. And there's also the game also has the Final Fantasy 15 event, which is a super long event. It doesn't end until next week, a week after that, which you can play through to acquire Prompto and level up and limit break Prompto. Prompto being the only unit I have been able to get to the point where I could potentially limit break him up I could potentially get him to up to level 85. Because I've had to replay those levels so many times. I've gotten all the material I need and then some for him. But that was this whole Final Fantasy event. First of all, really cool. They occasionally do other crossovers with other properties. At some point, they crossed over with Fate Stay Night. I am bitter that I missed that. I am so bitter that I missed Gilgamesh on that one. But that also implies that there might be other crossovers in the future. I foresee maybe Final Fantasy VII Remaster or Remake getting a crossover. Who knows, maybe one day they'll actually cross over with that other famous alchemy thing from Japan. You know, that little project that not a lot of people have heard of. What's it called? Full Metal Alchemist? Yeah. Probably they will never actually cross over with that, as I'm sure there will be a lawsuit waiting for them a bit. But I can dream. But so first of all, that means that there are all sorts of cool things that can come around the corner. And with these special crossovers, those units get special jobs. They have 3 jobs. Most units have 3 jobs apiece. The main characters, those 3 main characters I mentioned earlier, only have 2 apiece ultimately. A rare few have 4, but the 4th job actually replaces an earlier job with a more powerful version. But each of these characters has two regular jobs, but they also have their unique job, which are awesome. Like, none of them suck. None of those units are terrible. It is. It was worth getting those units in the summons, and that was the other thing, is that the summons for those units actually give pretty good summon rates for them. I recall there being some Dokkan Battle summons. There still are some Dokkan Battle summons where they've got feature characters. I didn't see those characters on my roster for over a year. The summon had come and gone, and they got added as feature characters to the next roster, and I still didn't get them for far longer than would make sense. By the time I actually got them, they weren't that good. Conversely, here, like I said, I got 3 of the 4 rare units, plus I've leveled up my Prompto. I would love to get the 4th unit, but if I don't, I have still got a pretty good team with just those 4, plus all the other stuff I have. There's a lot of other things I like about the game, though. One thing I like about the game is that it has an auto feature. Now, some purists out there are probably saying, why would you like the auto feature? That defeats the whole purpose of a strategy game. The whole purpose of a strategy game is to play out a strategy. To which I say 2 things. First of all, I play my games how I want to, and I like to play my games where I collect cool things and do cool things, and if I can't be strategic, well, too bad. But the second thing is sort of a spin-off of that. Some players are not good at coming up with those types of strategies, but they still want to enjoy the game. And the auto modes, there's a comedian who actually made a whole spiel about this. Video games are the only medium where you have to demonstrate competence in it to continue in it. And the auto mode still plays out using the units you put on your team. So if you put trash units on your team, you're probably not going to get good results. But it does allow the player who is not as skilled and runs across a tough challenge, to go through that challenge. It also allows, if you're in a situation where you cannot devote yourself fully to your attention to the game, it allows you to run the battle while you're doing something else, so that you can, you've played the battle once already, you know how it goes. Now you need to get some rare resource from that battle, but you really don't have the ability to sit down for 2 hours and grind it away while you're working on a term paper or something. You're doing a report at work or something like that. But you can devote a few seconds every 5 minutes or so to click start the battle over again. And sometimes it's just fun to watch these units running around with no control, sort of like a football game, and yell at them for being stupid, such as when one of my units continuously casts the area of effect spell on the area that everyone else is targeting so that he doesn't hit anything. Anyways, a little bit on that one. That's happened more times than I can count. But no, the auto mode, I think, is actually a good feature because it allows you to still enjoy the game, but also allows you to progress through the game without having to devote all the time in the world that a JRPG usually takes to devote yourself to it. So if you're interested in just collecting characters for the sake of collecting, or you really do need to focus on something else, you have that option. I'm trying to think what else I can say about this game. There's also one thing I noticed about the game. It just has so many different options. Every character is unique. I mentioned that most of the characters have 3 jobs. To my knowledge, which is not currently encyclopedic, but still, to my knowledge, there is no combination of 3 jobs on any character that is exactly the same. Many characters do have 2 of the jobs that are similar. For example, characters who are hunters as their first job may pick up the more advanced bow class user, the ranger, as their second or third job. But none of the units I found have exactly the same 3 jobs. sometimes those jobs don't seem like they mix on the surface. For example, one of my favorite characters to use, Reagan, starts as a chemist, becomes a sniper, and her third job is the chronomancer. Those don't seem like they make sense, but it still creates a unique character. And the other thing you can do is the player can take a character that has unlocked multiple jobs and mix and match skill sets. Each job provides the character with the main skill set and what's called a basic skill set. When you're in the job, that character uses that main skill set, but you can switch out basic skill sets between jobs. So, using Reagan as the example, so far I've only been able to unlock up to the sniper, but I have the opportunity, if I choose to, Reagan can use the sniper school, but use basic chemistry, which involves healing powers. So this allows me to differentiate Reagan from Courage, another sniper unit I have. Courage currently is just a straight sniper. Courage has other jobs. Both of them are snipers, so they have the same core skill set, but they both can fulfill different roles because they have different secondary skill sets. In addition, characters have different passive skills which can be traded out. So you can take you like the counter on one of them better than you like the counter on the other, swap them around. So it allows for a lot more customization, and that is something I greatly appreciate in a game. And the other thing is the game has challenges that sometimes are a bit difficult to overcome, and the game provides challenges that are just the right level of challenging. Sometimes it requires a little bit more thought to try to solve a puzzle. Sometimes the game's auto mode doesn't provide you with the correct answer, and you need to actually sit down and run through it yourself to use the correct winning strategy. So there's a lot of things I like about the game. It's got a lot of replay value. Like I said, I've currently been playing it for a little over a month, and I know that because I've only just gotten to day 6 of the... I've gotten again to day 6 of the daily login cycle, and it goes for 28 days before resetting. So I've been playing the game for more than a month. The game does have a few flaws. I think it could do better jobs with its tutorials. It also, at lower levels, pre-player level 50, when you summon up a friend unit, it costs no money to use a friend unit as a mercenary. After level 50, it costs money. Also, up to a certain level, I forget when this happened, you didn't have to use energy to do missions, so you could just play all the missions you wanted to. After that point, it required energy again. Actually, I start rationing that out, though there are so many ways to get energy that it hasn't usually been a major issue. But it didn't clearly... there was a warning message that flashed up on the screen, but it didn't quite make sense at the time until after I saw it in action. It could have been a clearer message. But I still enjoy the game, and the replay value of it makes me keep coming back, makes me want to see what they do next time. Every couple weeks, they'll introduce new units, either through events or through summoning options. I'm very curious. I don't know if they will do another crossover event, or if they do, when that event will be and what it'll be with. It may end up being a crossover with something I don't care about. But I am intrigued by the options and the opportunities that the game provides. And like I said, it starts free. You may be tempted to spend money on the more premium options. Maybe you won't be. But if you are a fan of strategy games, I do recommend trying it out. It's called Alchemist Code. You can find it if you're Samsung. I know it's on the Play Store. I should say if you're on Android, I know it's on the Play Store. I'm pretty sure it's got a Google equivalent as well. Check it out. It's giving me a lot of ideas. both for stories and also for game mechanics. Like, I'm looking at game design. This is one of those games where you play it and you actually sit back and look at how even tabletop games are designed and go, huh, what can I learn from this? There's definitely lessons here to learn, which is something I'm always looking for, which is probably, I think, the real reason why I keep coming back to it, besides the fact that it's an instant dopamine fix. But it gives you, it makes me think. And it makes me think not just about how to play the game, but how games are designed. And yeah, I would say if you're a fan of strategy games, if you're a fan of anime, if you're looking for something to use to kill some time, you can do a lot worse than Alchemist Code, I think. Anyways, that's the end of this. If you've actually stayed through all 30 plus minutes of this, I love you, but dear God, do you really need to listen to my voice that long? But no, seriously, if you have stayed around this long, thank you very much. I think I want to do stuff like this more often, honestly, just because, like I said, we've got a lot of crap going on, and sometimes it can be good to have something to step back for a minute and just talk about something that's good or positive or that you're enjoying. And who knows, you might just find something that you really enjoy afterwards. So I don't know if this is going to become a weekly thing. I'm absolutely terrible at time-based things, as we may have noticed. I think I'm still on day 15 of a meme I started 2 months ago. But yeah, just if you like this, let me know, and I'll see about doing more. Have a good night, everybody.